Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, TheRumpledOne, coming to you on Tuesday, August the 19th. The year's 2025. Let's talk trading. Eliminate distractions. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. As always, have risk management in place so you never lose more than you're willing to lose on any one single trade or during any one trading session. I guess I could just say during any trading session. Now, eliminate distractions. I said I was going to talk about indicators this week, and I plan on doing that. But I was reading a couple of different things over the weekend and yesterday, and it boiled down to focus. And part of the focus was eliminating distractions. And I was thinking, in terms of indicators, you know, used to kid about and still do about the charts on drugs where there's so many indicators you can't even see the price because they're just distractions. But there's so many other distractions. And why is it important to eliminate distractions? Well, probably one of the worst things that can happen to you or that you do as a trader or don't do is if you miss your signal, if you miss your opportunity. Now, that being said, there's always going to be another opportunity, but it can play havoc on you, especially if you miss an exit where you could have had a winner and now that potential winner is now a loser. That's awful. Or you missed that entry that would have, put you over the top. So it's so important to eliminate distractions. Now, distractions come in different flavors. There's external distractions that have nothing to do with your trading platform. It could be noise, things, around you that catch your eye. It could be phone call, a knock on the door, noise. There's just so many outside distractions, some of which you can't control, but you can minimize. Or you could set it up so your environment just about eliminates those distractions. And then there's internal distractions, your own focus. Some people talk about having a little meditation session or a routine that they do before they actually fire up their trading platform so their mind is where it needs to be. And then, as I mentioned before, you can have so many things on your charts or so many charts, so many monitors that instead of being focused, you're distracted. Now, it is possible to reach a point where trading becomes like driving, or you can be driving and you're listening to the radio or you're carrying a conversation, you're thinking about something other than driving, and you get there safely because you've developed the skill to that level. And I know some traders can do it. Walmart's good at it. We can be talking about politics, religion, anything but trading, and he's still taking his trades. But most people aren't at that level, so they have to be focused. So as you're trading, just check in. Are you focused? One of the things about focus is saying no to a lot of things. In other words, there's many different trading opportunities, but you decide what your trading plan is and what your entry signal is, and that's all you pay attention to. One of the things that Walmart and I are doing is we focus on the flip-flop boxes and the indicator 2. And so we sit here, we wait, and we decide what is our trade and what's not our trade. So was this right here a trade? No, it really wasn't. Trade was actually up here. So now it's just a matter of waiting. I would look to see maybe there'll be a trade when if it gets down to this level. But you see this sea of red here. It's kind of telling you which way it wants to go. Notice we're only 5 pips above the daily open. And it looks like we only have 44 pips of range here. And so here, looking at an M5 chart, you can see we've just about covered the previous M30. So just sit here and wait. Now, when you have a chart like this with just a couple of indicators, it's real easy to go through your checklist over and over again for your entries and exits. Once again, this is simple price action chart. And you can see here the M30 candles are still pretty, or have pretty small range. Looking at H1 here with the dashboard of all the different pairs and where it is in the ATR zones. You can see we're definitely between them. Wick zone. The rat zone. We're in a holo. The high of the day was 4 H1s ago, and the low of the day was 13 H1s ago, or hours ago. And you can see something interesting happened here. This is yesterday's low. This is today's open. It's a slight gap down. In and out of the wick zone. You know, I was saying about that one trader that was saying he wants to make money and he wants some type of arrow indicator. I keep telling him indicators don't make money, traders make money. But I don't think that trader just really understands trading. I keep telling him you have to learn how to trade. But it's probably listening to a bunch of people, looking at a bunch of forums, and they all have those indicators that are supposed to make lots of money. And we took out today's pivot. You know, you can have something as simple as a pivot trading plan indicator. It just tells you what to do. And it said here, bias at or near the pivot point short. Well, the first time, once again, H4 candles, it went up, came back down, came down hard. Bambino Flex indicator said, look for shorts. So it's really not that difficult. You know, in the rat zone, I mean, we hit that high. The rat zone was on, so you look for shorts here in the red rat zone. And sure enough, it would have paid off. Even though there's only a 4 pip difference between the zones here. Now between the smart rat zones, it's a little bit bigger. But I really think that you know, part of being focused and eliminating the distractions is just to pick one method. And I realize that can be difficult. You know, the buy zone. You know, we can see we crisscrossed at the open, which is 34.99, which is basically the 35.00. You can just trade those psychological levels. And you see here, it would have paid off. Somebody said, well, yeah, but you could get chopped up here. Well, you could get chopped up anywhere. And that's why you have risk management. And when you get that one, you catch that one trade for the ride, it pays off. So, fellow traders, I hope that helps. And maybe if you take an honest look at yourself, you might find that, hey, you were distracted, or there's something that's distracting you that can be eliminated. Because I need you to remember, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.